Welcome to the Klipspringer 2024 edition of the best desert trail race in the Southern Hemisphere, if we may say so ourselves. Here is our annual race briefing video, and we'll start off with the weather update. We're looking at absolutely typical weather for this time of year for the weekend. Saturday and Sunday we're looking at low 30s as highs, low teens as lows. So for us people not from the Northern Cape, that's very hot. For people from the Northern Cape, that's a nice balmy weekend of running in the desert. And yeah, absolutely typical for this time of year, which is great. Sunny, no rain. So once again, the imperative will be, the priority will be hydration, keep yourself cool, and try be done by the hottest time of the day, which in this part of the world is around 3-ish. Okay, I've spent some time this week looking at my old race briefing videos, and I always said that I'm not going to repeat the information that is already there on the website or has already been sent out to you in the pre-race briefing emails, and then I go ahead and repeat it and end up with a 30 to 40 minute race video. This year I'm really not going to repeat stuff that has been sent out in the pre-race briefing emails or stuff that is on the website that you should already be familiar with. So there will be less of my beautiful face and more time to actually enjoy the scenery and enjoy the drives on the way to Akrabi's. And remember, those pre-race briefings, there are 3. They're all up on the website now. If you didn't get them directly to your inbox via email, they're all up on the website listed, pre-race briefing 1, 2, and 3, and then everything else is on the website, particularly the race info subheading, the information, details, logistics, how to get to Kamkiri, start times, cut-off times, etc. It's all there. So I'm not going to be repeating. Let me try and see if we can get this race briefing in under 20 minutes. The one thing that always does bear repeating is the compulsory equipment requirement. We don't have an extensive compulsory equipment list because we are blessed with not having to worry about cold or rain or snow. But we do have to worry about heat, and we do take that seriously. So especially water is something that we do take seriously. Please acquaint yourselves with the compulsory requirements on the website, and we will be taking it seriously. If anybody is visibly non-compliant at the start, anywhere along the course, or even at the finish, if somebody finishes and they're not carrying something that they could have carried water in, we will take some kind of action which could result in time penalties or even disqualification. If somebody arrives at the start with no visible mechanism to carry the required 1.5 liters or liter of water, depending on whether you're doing the challenge or the light, we won't let you start. So please take that seriously. Klipspringer is not a race that traditionally has had problems with people not taking the compulsory equipment seriously, but please know we do take it seriously. So we'd appreciate it if you do too. We don't want any incidents because someone didn't have their stuff. Remember, charged phones. Make sure your phone is charged. That is the way of communicating if there's a problem or if there's an emergency. Most of the course has cell phone signal. Where there isn't easy signal, you can still get signal, usually if you climb to somewhere higher, and you will be able to get hold of somebody. But if your phone's not charged, you can't get hold of anybody. The other thing is that the space blanket is a requirement. It might not sound very intuitive for a hot desert run, but remember, compulsory equipment is for when things go wrong, not for when things go right. And when something goes wrong, that space blanket could be the difference between serious and not so serious. When you're lying there with, God forbid, a broken leg in the middle of the desert, shock sets in, you're in pain, that core temperature starts to get all wonky, that space blanket is an important requirement. So that is also part of the compulsory equipment. But have a look under race info, compulsory equipment, it's all there. Okay, our marking is the usual traditional orange ribbons, biodegradable. They don't choke the animals, they're not plastic. So we tie them around the thorn bushes. They're hard to get off, but thanks to the rangers and the honorary rangers who help us mark every year, and importantly, help us take down the ribbons every year. This is your lifeline in the desert, and this is what you follow. Something we always say, it's virtually impossible to get lost. We mark extensively, comprehensively. It's a very well marked course. I usually throw out a challenge. I challenge somebody to get lost, but I think I'm not doing that anymore because people take the challenge seriously and they get lost. So, but it is hard to get lost. Follow the ribbons. There's a rhythm, there's an intuitive logic to the marking. You'll pick it up quite quickly. First couple of kilometers, you'll get a sense of how the marking works, and then you go with it. If you start to feel that rhythm being lost, if you ever find yourself not in sight of a ribbon in front of you or behind you for a period of time, a couple of minutes, we always say if you think you're lost, you probably are. You probably will never think you are lost on this course, but if you do think you are lost, you very well might be. Stop. Don't keep going forward and hope that you don't have to give up ground that you've made and you'll find a ribbon in the future. If you find yourself a little bit lost and not sure, go back to the last ribbon that you saw and reorientate yourself, and you'll find the course again. The marking is regular. Even if a ribbon, which does happen, has been blown off or eaten by a gemsbok or a giraffe or something like that, there will be another one in the distance that you should be able to see. So go back to where you last saw a ribbon and pick up the trail again. Okay, on the northern side, day one, this is the very remote side. I always say that you will be running on routes. I won't call them tracks because a lot of the time on day one, there's not a track. You'll be running on ground that has most likely never seen human feet. It's very much a privilege, but take it seriously. It's a big, wide open space out there. And a lot of the time, as I said, there isn't a track. You'll follow the markings. It's runnable, even though there isn't a track. It's actually pretty exhilarating to run just free running through the desert. You follow the ribbons. You don't have to be in that exact single file, and it's wonderful. On day two, you are running the traditional legendary Klipspringer hiking trail hosted by the Grabie's Falls National Park, and the ribbons will also be complemented by the green and white Sandparks Klipspringer trail marking boards. Little green and white board with a little Klipspringer and with an arrow. Something to remember that's important. In all cases, the ribbons override everything else. If you see something that's giving you doubt that there's a green and white arrow or something that conflicts with the ribbons, you follow the ribbons. That could be another trail to something else, the Dussie, the waterfall, you follow the ribbons. Similarly, a lot of people will be following the GPS on their phone. They'll have downloaded it from our wonderful Hello Drifter platform on the website. Great, but again, it's not 100%. There are places that we have needed from year to year to deviate, to change little things. The ribbons are the primary method of marking. So even if your phone is saying you need to be going that way, but the ribbons are straight, you follow the ribbons, they will probably connect again a little bit further down the line. So don't get lost following your GPX track, you follow the ribbons. As always, for people strong enough running the challenge, we don't mark in the gorge. So those of you, and a few of you have done it before, you'll know that this is one of South Africa's epic 7K trail stretches. Brutal, spectacular, and unmarked. Unmarked because you can't get lost in the gorge. We will mark you in normally. You'll come down, you'll get to the river, spectacular orange river in the canyon ahead of you. You'll turn left, and then you make your own way. You pick your line along the gorge for approximately 7 Ks until you'll see the marking that will be, you'll pick it up and it'll take you out. You'll turn left again along a dry riverbed away from the flowing orange river. We don't mark that. You've got the river on your right. Keep the river on your right. If the river is not on your right, you are seriously lost. You've got the river on your right, you're in the bottom of a canyon. There I really do challenge somebody to get lost. And part of the challenge of this section is to pick your own line. It can make quite a difference. There are really no tricks. I used to think a trick was rather stay higher than lower, because you tend to want to go lower towards the river, but then you end up in dead ends. I think that there are no tricks. Over the last couple of years, we've had some incredible floods that have really changed the shape of particularly this part of the trail, and I think there are no rules. So you use your instinct, use your experience, use your gut feel, and you will make your way along that gorge. And if I can say one thing, take the time to have a swim. It's one of life's absolute special experiences to swim in the Orange River at the bottom of this canyon. And if you're not racing, take the time to have a swim. You won't regret it. This is something very important. You'll get your awesome race numbers they are really mementos and collector's items. You'll get your awesome race numbers at registration. You'll notice, as always, the race numbers have 2 tear-off slips at the bottom. For those people doing the 2 days, the day 1 and day 2, for those people doing 1 day only, we will take off the non-relevant slip at registration. And what we do is you tear those off and we collect them at the start of each day. There will be a box that we will take these tear-off slips and we collect them at the start each day. This is possibly one of the most important things to remember this weekend. This is probably our most important control, and this is what confirms to us who actually started and who is out there on the course in the desert. People register, they get a tummy bug, and they don't wake up and run. People chicken out, people change plans. So registration is not what we go by. We go by the tear-off slip at the bottom of your race number. Make sure that you put it into the box at the start. That is our control. If you don't have your tear-off slip in the box and you get lost out there in the desert, we don't know that you started, and we're not going to come and look for you. So please remember that if you remember anything. On a related note, the checkpoint procedures are very important. You have a number of different checkpoints. They're all at aid stations. The aid station information is all on the race info that I swore I wouldn't be repeating, so I'm not going to. But the checkpoints are listed under race info, and the aid stations are all manned by experienced people who've been part of the race for a long time, and they will have the responsibility of also being checkpoint marshals. They will be recording every race number that comes through their aid station. Whether you're racing in front and flying through without stopping, or if you're stopping and having a boerewors roll and a glass of wine, or enjoying the sun, having a kuier, then they will be recording your race number of each runner that runs through that aid station. It's also your responsibility to make sure that your number is recorded. Don't just run through and you see a person with a pad and a pen and assume that they've got you. They will be calling out race number 1, 2, 3. There I'm running. Warren, 1, 2, 3, I hear you. Okay, you got me. If you don't hear that, or you're not 100% sure, you ask. Marshall, 1, 2, 3, have you got me? Yes, all good. Okay, then they know we've got you. That is a very important control for us as a race control. We then know these people started, these people got to aid station 1, these people got to aid station 2. When the sweeper comes past aid station 1 or aid station 2, we know that everybody should be through that aid station. And then we do a quick reconciliation and we see, whoa, 1, 2, 3. Warren's doing something in the desert and he hasn't come through. Let's call him, let's go and see that he is okay. So very important, those checkpoint procedures. Make sure that you hear or see your number being ticked off. As far as that goes, safety on the course, it's very remote out there. It's very spread out. A lot of the time you may find yourself completely alone. We do ask that this is quite a good safety control. I learned this over the last few years from, thankfully, not a race of mine, but a race of a friend that I know. And there was a tragedy that I don't want to talk about it too much, but what we learned is don't leave the trail. If you're not feeling well, you want to sit under a tree and get some shade, you want to lie down, don't leave the trail. Sometimes I know you're not thinking that clearly when you're in that situation, but remember this. Don't leave the trail, because once you're off the trail, you can be 5 meters off the trail and gone. And then we don't know where to look. We'll know that you're between aid station X and aid station Y, but that's a lot of ground to cover. If you do need to leave the trail, for example, you've got some nature calling that you need to do your business, obviously that's understandable. You don't have to stand there on the trail showing off your glory to everybody else behind you. But this is a very important trick. Take off your bag and leave it on the trail. So if you want to step off and be discreet to go behind a rock or something, that's fine, but take off your bag and leave it on the trail. In the event that you have a catastrophic medical incident, or you get bitten by a snake, or eaten by the great Ochrabi's wild boar that has been terrorizing villages for generations and eating people, that's not really, just in case. But if anything happens to you, the next person running will see this lonely bag on the trail and will think, whoa, somebody's out there, let's notify somebody. So remember that. Okay, we do have cutoff times. They are generous. The details are all in the information on the website, in the race briefings. They are very generous, but they are strictly enforced. They're there for a reason. If you get to a point, you really should be quite comfortably within the cutoff times. If you get to an aid station 1 minute after the cutoff time, we are going to stop you, because beyond that, you actually are in serious danger of not making it and putting the race, your fellow participants, yourself at risk, and that's where safety kicks in. So we do enforce those quite strictly. We do have discretion as well. The race organizer has discretion. We have a strong team of sweepers in both of the races. We have a traditional back sweeper to bring up the rear to make sure that everybody is through in front of them. We also have a strong team of midfield sweepers who will just be running amongst you, that we'll be able to call on if need be. All of the crew, volunteers, and race organizer has discretion to actually say to somebody, I think you're finished, but you're walking around in circles, slurring, incoherent, you've stopped sweating a long time ago because you're dehydrated. We are calling it and we are putting you in a vehicle and taking you back to the start. So we do have that discretion. We've used it, I think, once in 9 years, but it is there. If you withdraw from the race, you stop at an aid station, maybe you get too full from boerewors, rolls and coke, and you get stomachache and you can't carry on, and you decide to wait and go back with the aid station people, you are free to do that. If you have an emergency and the medic takes you off, or if you just at a point you decide you want to finish somebody on day 2, it can happen. Your family are waiting for you at the Ararat viewpoint. You get in the car and go back. Let us know, please, please, please let us know. Phone the emergency number on your race number, which is my phone. Oh, this is the phone. And let me know, how's it, Warren? This is Yanni, and I am not running anymore, so I'm finished. We will tick you off, and we're not going to go look for you, spend the night in the desert looking for Yanni who didn't phone us, and he's now sleeping off his hard days running. So please remember that. Okay, what else? Emergencies, signal. As I said, signal everywhere. Sometimes you're in a bad way and you're in a place that hasn't got signal. This can happen especially in the gorge. The challenge runners, again, don't want to scare you, but be careful. That is far away from anything. And signal is hard. But the sweepers will be able to assist if you find yourself in difficulty. The sweeper will be able to climb up to a higher point and will be able to get signal and notify us, and we will start the necessary procedures to do whatever we need to do, which is why those charged phones are so important. Remember, this is a carry your own race. We've advertised that for a good few years now and long in advance this year, which means that we generally not going to have cups, polystyrene cups at aid stations. It's such a privilege to be right in this pristine part of the world and to not see litter like we see all over the world at the moment. So we don't contribute. We also, if you see something, it does happen, somebody puts the tissue back in their pocket or a goo thing and it falls out. If you see that somebody is dropped inadvertently, just pick it up, stuff it in your pocket or your bag, and gooi it when you get to the finish or to the aid station. That will be much appreciated. I think it's also important to give a word of thanks and appreciation to a few of our partners, particularly the wonderful team at the Okrabi's Falls National Park. Come back year after year, and it really is just a blessing to be spending time in this awesome part of the planet. Thanks, Angela, fantastic manager of the park, and her brilliant team of everybody from hospitality to reception to maintenance to the rangers who are a big part of the race. Thank you very much. We very much appreciate it. Thanks to Sand Parks as well for the great work here in the Northern Cape and the rest of the country. Preserving our natural heritage can't be more important. McDonald's Transport, our logistical champion friends from the Northern Cape, thank you again for manning aid stations. The world's most beautiful, voted the world's most beautiful aid station at a trail race is the Ararat aid station on day 1. And Raisins South Africa, thank you for your 2 aid stations as well. Nature's superfood. You can't get better. If you look into the energy packed into those little things, we're very happy, grateful to have Raisins and their friendly products. So thanks, guys. Okay, photographers, Gareth and his team are out there in the desert. When you see a photographer, run hard, jump high, smile, cry, do whatever you want to do that's going to get you a memorable photograph. And yeah, I never get so much energy when I'm dying in a trail race as when I see that big lens looking my way. All of a sudden I'm running like Kipchoge. And then I'll walk for 5 kilometers. So yeah, look for the photographers, wear your shirts. As always, a lot of time, effort, and Inspiration has gone into the shirts, so I haven't yet seen them in real life. I'm sure they're going to be wonderful. And yeah, remember to concentrate. The difference between trail running and road running, and to me the biggest reason why some road runners just never take to trail, although I would think it's just like, why wouldn't you, is because trail running takes concentration, and it takes constant concentration. You can never really get into that zone of switching off, not looking where you're going, not concentrating. You've got to concentrate all the time. Look where you're putting your feet. Little rock, big stone can actually cause the premature end to your race and turn it into a crappy weekend. Keep looking where you're going. Remember, it's not when you're at a sheer cliff where if you fall off you're going to die is where accidents happen. That's not where accidents usually happen. Accidents usually happen when things are looking pretty safe and you're looking around. And then the ankle goes, the fall, the knee, the elbow, the hand, broken fingers. We've seen it all. That being said, this is a really special opportunity to spend time in a really special place. So take the time to enjoy it, to appreciate it. Take pictures. It's really not, it is a race, but it's not a race. I mean, it is a race, but you know what I mean. Take the pictures, you'll appreciate it, you'll remember those pictures, you'll remember the environment, and just sometimes when nobody's around, you stop and listen to the silence. You guys who live out in the Northern Cape are blessed with a lot of silence. For the rest of us who don't live in this kind of environment, we don't get a lot of silence, almost ever. So stop and just listen to that silence. It is really special. Okay, that's it. What am I on? Under 30 minutes. Okay, it still went on too long. If you need any information that you can't find on the website, if you have any questions that you want to ask me, please feel free to WhatsApp me directly. I'm on 083 449 4113. 083 449 4113. Rather don't call WhatsApp, because the signal out here while we're busy marking and doing things in the desert is not always immediate, and sometimes you're out there on a mountain, the wind's blowing. It's easier just to deal with WhatsApp, so feel free to WhatsApp me on that number that I gave you. And yeah, this is our race briefing. So drive safely. Everybody's coming from somewhere. Enjoy the drive. This is some of the best driving in the whole world. Fantastic roads, beautiful open, wide open spaces, scenery, very little traffic. A couple of trucks. We've got busy agricultural stuff going on here, so be careful. Don't fall asleep while you drive. And I know that 30 minutes of me droning on can cause anybody to fall asleep at the wheel, but listen to the race video in small chunks. If there's anything you missed, rewind, listen to it again. That's the beauty of the video format for the race briefing. So yeah, drive safely, and we'll see you at registration, and looking forward to Klipspringer 2024.